this is Miss Mashburn from Pottsville Middle Grades. Today I'm going to do a reflection on my first lesson for task 5. So in this lesson, I had to pick 3 learning goals, and the 3 goals that I wanted to focus on was first, celebrating successes, 2, reflecting on learning, and 3, asking in-depth questions of reluctant learners. This was something I wanted to re-go over from task number 3. I wanted to make sure that I was meeting those criterias and that I've been growing and wanted to show off some success. So first, talking about celebrating successes, some highlights from this lesson is by the end, all of my students felt successful. As a teacher, that's what you want to see. So some examples. Throughout the video, there was lots of kids that I would go and personally brag on. A little girl named Addie, I would tell her she did a great job. You got this. Something I like to do as a teacher is when a student is doing something, I like to get closer to them so they can tell that my focus is completely on them. The big one for this one was a little boy named Xander. Xander is one of my big time reluctant learners. He gets anxious when he has to share out. He gets distracted easily. We were able to cheer him on. So because we've created an atmosphere of celebrating each other, my students are now celebrating each other. So when they noticed that he was struggling or when he did a good job and he was able to give the answer, not only did I encourage him and I celebrated him by telling him what a wonderful job he did, but the students were encouraging him. You got this. Way to go, Xander. Even clapping for him. So I'm really proud because not only am I noticing this and growing as an educator, I'm creating a culture of encouragement in my classroom where students now take on that ownership and they are cheering each other on. Some other examples, I noticed that a couple people were unable to find a place on their paper. I asked group leaders for them to help me. Hey, group leaders, help me help your friend. Oh, I love it when you help your friend. Thank you so much for encouraging each other. So again, trying to get students to take ownership of this as well. In my classroom, I like for students to be able to be highlighted. So one way that I do this to celebrate them is I have them stand in their chair. This puts them literally up on a pedestal to be celebrated. So at the end of the lesson, the exit ticket was for them to stand up and tell their opinion, and then they had to give one strong reason, which is the whole learning objective. Every student got to stand up on the pedestal and feel confident in their abilities. And we were able to celebrate them by clapping twice for them every time. So they knew they were heard, they were validated. This also increased effort and confidence in my sweet friends. So celebrating success. The next one that I want to look at is reflecting on learning. So basically with this lesson, the entire lesson was reflecting and building on skills and things we've learned in a huge unit. So we did a unit on Western expansion and pioneers and the Oregon Trail. And so with this unit, we talked about it. We talked about reasons people travel. We read a fiction book. We read nonfiction passages. So I built this up in their background knowledge before they even knew the writing task that was at hand. So they're reflecting on things they've already learned throughout the entire lesson. But I'm also using things like Vista 4, where they're having to show me periodically throughout the lesson if they're understanding. 0 meaning I have no idea what my teacher is saying, and 4 as I've mastered this skill, I could teach it myself. We have a chart in the front of our room that goes through this. I did this several times throughout the lesson just to see, okay, do you understand what you're supposed to be doing? Vista 4. How do you feel at the end of this lesson? Did you master this? Vista 4. And so that's a good way for me to quickly check and reflect. Another thing that we did in this lesson was they picked their sides, but then at the very end, I gave them a chance to switch, to reevaluate their opinion. And what was interesting is based on reflecting on what the other students did, students were able to make a different choice. So for my reluctant learners, for my low-level learners, they heard the ideas of their peers, which influenced their opinion, and then their opinion changed because they knew they had to explain it deeper, which means they reflected and have a better understanding. So that was another thing that I thought was really interesting in this. The last one is the one I am most proud of. I've said in previous videos that I've got a unique dynamic of my class this year. I have inclusion, which is wonderful. It's been a learning experience for everybody. But in this class, over half of them are IEP students. They are my reluctant learners. They're my in need of support students. And because of this, their confidence, I have learned, is not as high. Some of them, their engagement is not as high. So for whatever reason, they are reluctant, whether it's ability or whether it's confidence. So this is a skill I've really worked on this year, is asking questions of all of them. I'm strategic on when I ask questions. So in the video, you'll notice when we went whole group and I had them share out their reasons, I chose my most reluctant learners first. I wanted to make sure that they got their ideas first and validated before it was taken. I want to build their confidence, but also require them to do the same in-depth thinking as everyone else. With this, I would pair them up so that they were able to discuss with each other their reasons before they had to discuss them with everyone. I wanted to make sure they felt confident in this. So when we ask of our reluctant learners, you'll notice there was a few that were more reluctant than others. One student is Haley. So you'll notice at the beginning, Haley started to share her response, and that was when we were discussing our opinions. And then she kind of stopped talking. I moved closer to encourage her, just so that she'd feel that I'm there to support but not do for her. And she did it, and the kids cheered her on. The kids were excited for her, and she was confident. You'll notice, or I noticed, that she participated a lot in this lesson, and it's because we started off with that expectation and that encouragement. Another one was Sweet Xander. So Sweet Xander was very reluctant. I made sure that he was participating. With this, I said things like, "You were right, be confident, you can do this, I believe in you, you're awesome." But I required every student to participate. Another one with this, when asking in-depth questions, I ask the same question of all students, regardless of what their learning level was. And with this, they had to all discuss with a partner. So every student was doing this, but they had the support. You'll notice in the video that I met with a few groups. I did this strategically. I made sure that the groups that I met with were the reluctant learners. The kids that were in the go group or in the stay group were almost all reluctant learners or had a hard time. So with them, I would meet and I would talk to them. I would let them share their ideas. I would help guide their ideas. I would help deepen their ideas so that they would be able to be as confident in the whole group lesson as our non-reluctant learners. So this was something I did strategically to try to help them. Another one that I thought was interesting was Ellis. Ellis and Zayden are two of my struggling learners. Ellis gets distracted very easy. He's reluctant because he does have some struggles in reading, but he also is reluctant because of his confidence in himself. So with him, I wanted to make sure that I ask questions of him. I checked in with him often to make sure that he was on task, that he was good, that things were great. Does he have any questions? I want to make sure he was participating. I was pretty proud of all of my kids in this lesson. I was proud of my growth in these learning goals. I can't wait to see in the next lessons some new learning goals that I can focus on. But all in all, this has been a very powerful learning experience where I'm able to reflect, kind of like we're trying to have our kids do, and grow as an educator. So thanks.